James. James, tell me, what company do you work for? How long have you been in the industry? What industry are you in?
Yeah, so I'm in the roofing industry. I've been with Roofsimple now for about 5.5 years, and we're out in the Shenandoah Valley, so in like the Northern Virginia area, near DC. So yeah.
And how long? What position do you have? What do you do in the company?
Yeah, I mean, I just knock doors, so I'm just out there, slaying the doors and closing some roofs.
That's our people, dude.
Yeah, man.
That's our people.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff.
How long? So, did you start knocking doors when you got into the roofing industry, or did you knock before that for a different industry?
Yeah, so back when I was in college, like years prior, I ended up actually knocking doors for a window replacement company.
Okay.
And it was basically like, hey, if you get a lead, we'll pay you like $60 or something. Like, It wasn't amazing, but it was great because I was actually good at that too.
Yeah.
And I did really well at it. And then in what was it, like 2016? I was dating a girl. Following year, we're getting married, and I end up getting into the roofing industry from the insurance side. So I do a lot of like ladder assist work. Worked for Seek Now for a year.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, and so that's sort of where I learned like climbing roofs. I had to like draw roofs on like a diagram and like hand measure everything.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of work, but it was a great experience.
Yeah.
And by the time a year after that, I got into the roofing industry, knocking doors. It was, I already had all that knowledge of, hail, wind, that kind of stuff. And so I was able to take off pretty quickly.
That's a huge leg up if
that was
you
great.
kind of know the other side of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so
very cool.
Because you can also go to your customers too. I was able to go like, hey, I worked for these guys for a year.
Instant
I know what
credibility.
they're looking for. So when I go up there, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of like State Farm, Travelers, Nationwide. So I know what I'm looking at. And they're like, okay, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. He's confident. So, they let me up on the roof and I was able to close the deal.
Yeah, awesome, man. So tell me, so I get this a lot. I'm a roofer. I've been in the roofing industry for a long time. That's my thing. I just sold my company in March, so I've kind of done everything from knocking doors, setting appointments, all the way up to owning and operating a business.
Yeah.
Tell me, like, I get a lot of feedback at D2D Con and when we're around other industries that, like, maybe roofing is an easier sell than a solar sale or something like that. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could definitely see how it's easier because we're doing a lot of insurance work. I mean, I'm not saying it's the hardest industry to be in or anything like that, but I mean, I think that it probably could be easier than solar. I mean, I don't do solar, but I could see how, there's probably a lot of objections because rates are high now, and like you're facing a lot in solar as well.
Tell me more about some of the objections that you get, like on a regular basis. Like, you do only insurance, or do you do retail also?
I retail as well.
Okay. So what are like some of the main objections, let's say on the insurance side? Yeah.
So the main objection that I get is that if I file a claim, my insurance company is going to drop me.
Right.
And
so how would you overcome that?
Yeah, so I'm the first thing that I would say, and so for me, I try to incorporate the art of empathy a lot. So I'm a homeowner, right? And when I go and knock on doors, I really want to talk to these people like I would want somebody to talk to me if I didn't know anything about the roofing industry, right? So I want to understand where they're coming from, which is just a lack of knowledge about everything to do with insurance and the roofing and everything. So the first thing that I say is when they say I love the idea, but I don't want to get dropped by my insurance company, I don't want to piss them off. I'm like, yeah, I totally get that. Like
Smart,
that makes a lot of sense. If
you never want to disagree with a homeowner.
No, never, because you're coming from the vantage point of everything that you know, and they're somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you have to understand internally where they're coming from, and then be able to kind of slowly bring them into just the understanding of the knowledge that you have. Share it with them so that you guys can be on the same page. So I always start with, hey, totally understand that. If I were in your shoes, like I would be, a little bit weary of everything as well, especially when you have some strange dude knocking on your door trying to sell you something. Like I say that, I basically know, I'm like, I already
8-mile it a little bit.
Yeah, totally. It's just like, I know it's some random dude that's showing up to your house, but I really want to do a good job. I work for a 5-star rated company.
Yeah.
So I start with that, like, hey, I get it. You don't want to get dropped by your insurance company.
I love that, man.
And then I go.
It's always good to be on their side. They're always going to like hear you a lot more when you're sitting next to them rather than like facing or opposing them. You know?
Exactly, and that's one of the things I think.
It's a great move to get on their side.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's attributed a lot to my success because it's not so much about like I want to make it less about me and my numbers and just like hammering it out and going after there and just being able to like when somebody opens a door, that's a person. They have a story, they have a history.
100%.
They're their own entity, and you're your own entity.
Yeah.
And there's something beautiful just about being able just to talk to a person, getting to know them, trying to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And yeah, you get the people that are cussing you out and being like, no, just slam the door, and it's just like whatever. That's a part of it. You get rejected 80 to 90% of the time.
I mean, you and I both know that 99 out of 100 homeowners are not going to say yes, right?
Right, exactly.
Maybe once you get better, it's like maybe 1 out of 33 or whatever. Maybe you're going to get a little bit more success per door, but those ones that just beat you down, over and over and over and over again. How do you deal with that? Like, what are your core governing values that like keep you knocking, keep you going? Like, what is it that's motivating you?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I'll say two things. When I started, I was able to pull data from other people that I knew that had been in the industry for a while and were doing well. So I knew that they were successful, and they were getting a lot of rejection too, but now they're making really good money. So I knew for me, if I kept with that, then I could probably break whatever seal or whatever ice I'm trying to break by just going. And now I kind of look at it, and what I'm seeing is that as I'm going out there, it's all about consistency, right? Like if you look at roofing from like, I got to go out and get a deal today. Well, you might not. What happens if you don't? You have to consider that as well. You might not go and get a deal for 2 weeks, right? But if you're able to just sort of like have a vision of like 6 months to a year and say, if I just go out X amount of days per week and knock X amount of doors, and I'm tracking everything using my app or whatever canvassing tool I'm using, and am I just consistent with that, you will break the ice. Yeah. You will do it. You figure out where the storms are, you go and knock, you start talking to people, and the more you just rinse, lather, repeat that process or whatever, like you will be successful. Yeah. I've seen people who like when I first saw them, I was just like, they're not going to do it, and then I've seen people who are like, oh, this guy, he's a sanguine, he's good at talking to people, he's going to be great, and I was wrong on both of them. The sanguine guy, he lets the rejection get under his skin and he quits 2 weeks in. And then I see the guy who's like, he's an introvert, but he's just going at it. And the dude is like super successful, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Interesting.
And the difference is the consistency. Yeah. You understand that in a 6-month time, if I go out 3-4 times a week, it's not about the rejection, it's about the process. Yeah. And you have to trust the process. Yeah. This is a massive industry, billions of dollars. You have to trust the process. There are people that have gone out there and have been successful knocking doors. Yeah. So like look at them, talk to them, search them out, ask them a bunch of questions, and then when you go out there, just understand, yes, rejection is going to be 80% of the time. That's why there's so few people in the industry, and the few that are in the industry are very successful. Yeah,
I love that. So tell me, you said you did a little bit of retail as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's like a main objection in a retail environment that you get? Yeah, I mean, how would you overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest rejection is just like that the price is too high.
Okay.
It's just like, oh, like
so this is actually you've already given them an estimate.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, this is too much money.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is Tom. Tom needs roof. Yeah. Tom calls roofer.
Yep.
Roofer gives Tom quote. It's like, and at the end of the day, it's like, like there's warranties and there's
so you give me a bid, it's $20K, and I'm like, dude, no way.
Right.
I can't do this. There's no way. How do you combat that?
Yeah, so basically what I would say is just like, what are you looking for in a roofer? Like, what do you want in a roofing company?
Price.
Okay, gotcha. So then you can go get a cheaper price. You can go on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, whatever. You can get a quote at probably half this cost. But can you trust that contractor?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, so what I would say is that with our company, we have a project manager that's on site the whole time. That's a liaison between the homeowner and the crew. So if you have any questions or concern, look, like, Chad, we're doing cosmetic surgery to your house right here, right? So you want to make sure that you pick a good doctor for your house, because what you don't want is you don't want a leak.
Analogy,
you don't want a leak 2 weeks in. you know. And if there is a leak, you don't want some contractor that's halfway across the country, you know, like ripping off some other homeowner.
No, I don't.
You know, so we're like we are a company locally. We are a 5-star rated company. And in fact, I would encourage, or I could even go to Google myself right now and let's look through some of the reviews. And we have just a ton of 5-star reviews. Like, let's just look through these. You know, at the end of the day, this is a 30, 40, 50-year-old roof. And that amount of time, if anything goes wrong, you want to have a contractor that is going to be there. And I can tell you right now that how old our company is. Like we are there. Just got a text this morning. Hey, we have something, you know, a minor thing wrong with our roof. And 5 seconds later, I'm like, boom, on it, texting our post-install guy, you know, and he scheduled it in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
he'll be out there next week.
I love how he uses FUDs, fears, uncertainties, and doubts. I loved how you use imagery, use stories. Stories sell.
Yeah,
it's huge, man. I mean, you're not gonna sell somebody on like facts and data. Like some of that stuff, yes, it's important, but the emotional stuff that you hit on, I love that, man.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, it's like if they hear me out and they're like, okay, but I want a cheaper roof, then I'm just like, then I now understand where your values are.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And I won't sell you a roof. And then end of story. It's not.
Yeah,
you know,
I love that you're building value too, because I mean, price is not, you know, what they're really concerned about in most cases, right?
Right.
It's like, well, I want the best thing for my money.
Yeah, exactly. I want the best quality for best price, and that's where you know we have just tried to get it to a point where we can offer the best value for the best price.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, some of the contractors too, if you guys are getting those objections, some of the contractors that are shooting super, super low are not going to be able to sustain themselves as a business. Right. Therefore, the warranties, whatever they say that they're going to give you, they're not going to be able to live up to them anyway. So it's another great way to overcome that is like, hey guys, like make sure this is how a business works, okay?
Right.
Like I'm an expert in the roofing industry. Present yourself as that.
Yeah.
And you're the authority. So you need to be able to like tell them if these guys are doing it at that price, like they're literally not going to be able to stay in business.
Right.
So, which in a lot of cases is true. Most roofing companies go out of business in the first 5 years.
Yeah, and I mean, like a lot of it comes down to like, yeah, we charge more, but at the same time, like we hire people so that when you do have an issue, they're there. Yeah. Because we have the money to do that. And the person that is selling a roof at 50% of my cost or whatever can't afford to go doing all the repairs.
No.
Because he can't hire a guy, and he's just trying to keep up, you know, his own bills at that point. And so, I mean, like, yeah, if you really come from the standpoint of values first, like, which is a big part of like even like for me and my essence and how I go about sales is a very value-centered approach. Like you're going to succeed long term, right? Like you can get a fly-by-night roofer who can make $3 million in a year and cash out and he's gone, right? That's not what this is about. Because again, it's like your vision is so small, right? If you're a company, it's like how do I last multi-generational? As a company, what can I set up now as a company in order to do that? In order to give my sales guys long-term success, and like that's what the focus needs to be on.
So what's the future for you? You're selling now. What do you love? Is that like your thing? Like that, is that the thing that energizes you? Is that what you want to do the rest of your life? Is there other things like within the roofing space that you're interested in? What's next?
Yeah, so there's a couple things in the roofing space that I'm sort of bouncing around right now, and just talking with the company about like, you know, where could I fit in with leadership and that sort of thing. At the end of the day, is like, you know, what's me and what do I want to do and who do I want to be in the next 15, 20 years? Like, at the end of the day, man, the number one thing that I want to do, I want to be a good dad and a good husband. Like, at the end of the day, it's like the roofing industry
that's the core.
That's
the why.
Yeah, well, my relationship with God is the core, and around that relationship, along with that relationship, is making sure that I'm, you know, doing a good job, being a good husband, being a good father. Because at the end of the day, it's like the roofing industry, it can go, right? Like the world can pass away. At the end of the day, it's like I have my family.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that, like, you know, I have a good relationship with my children in 40 or 50 years when they're having children. Yeah. I have a good relationship with my grandchildren. And the basis for that starts now. So at the end of the day, it's like my goals, that's my primary goal.
I love it.
And the roofing, the great thing about roofing is that it's a phenomenal vehicle in order to achieve that end. But roofing in and of itself 100%. Is not the end. It is a means towards the end, and the end is my faith. The end is my family, cultivating good community, good friendships with my church. Like that's the kind of stuff that I thrive on. That's the kind of thing that like gets me going.
Yeah.
And the roofing industry is the vehicle to get there. And it's awesome.
So to wrap up, I love having the conversation with you. It's been really, really awesome. Tell me, what are 3 things that you are going to get at D2D Con 7? What did you come for? What are you after? Is it information? What did you come to get that you're going to take home and you're going to implement when you get back?
Yeah, so Chris Voss, he's going to be up here, I think, in like an hour or so. Really excited to hear the art of negotiation. I think that will be really great. And honestly, I'm kind of here to give back. I hit a golden door yesterday. Last year, I hit a golden door.
Dude.
A little over $3 million in sales, and so this year, sort of like the spirit of me coming out again this year has been really to give back. So coming on here, doing this podcast, a lot of the guys,
to see that.
Exactly, yeah. And so doing that, I'm going to be on a sales panel this afternoon, home improvement sales panel.
Wonderful.
So just being able to just to give value to the people that are here, that are hungry, that are like wanting to prove themselves, wanting to be like I want to do well, I want to get out of debt, I want to make money. I'm just like, it's possible, and like any value that I can give to anybody here over the course of the next 2 days, that's why I'm here.
Come see him, guys.
Yeah. There we go.
Dude, great to meet you.
Nice. You too, man.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
That was good. That was a good jam.
Cool.